I think it worked this time. I had a little trouble, so thanks for giving me just a few minutes to go live. Good morning, everybody. It's me, Heather Nichols, and I'm coming to you. It's Thursday, May 22nd. Can you believe that this is where we are? We are at almost the end of May. It's Memorial Weekend this weekend for those of you in the United States. Good morning, Deb. I'm seeing you guys start to pop in. I had a little error at the beginning, so I apologize for the slight delay in getting live. I have a little bit of panic attack when that occurs. Technology's, is it going to cooperate or not? So yes, I am coming to you from central Minnesota. Tailored Expressions is located in Ankeny, Iowa, but I live in central Minnesota. So good morning, everybody. Say hello as you pop in. My sound quality might be a little bit different. If you've been following along with me, you know that our plan is to move in the near future, and our house is going on the market tomorrow. So we have cleared out all of the clutter, and it's a little echoey downstairs in my workspace. So you might notice that, and I apologize. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. So hopefully you can hear me just fine. So it's good to see all of you this morning. Good morning, Farley and Maria. Good morning, Mona, and good morning, Marsha and Robin. You're all popping in. Good morning, Angie. Good morning, Beth and Sue and Joanne. It's good to see all of you. It is a sunny day here in Minnesota. We are supposed to get into the high 60s, which is great because it's been raining here all week long, and we've been more in like the 40s and 50s this week. So it's been kind of a gray, drizzly week. I have been spending my week, like I said, cleaning my house and emptying it out, which isn't so much fun when the rain is happening, but at least we weren't missing the good weather, right? So yeah, Terry says, where are you moving? We bought land and we're building a house. I talked about it a little bit earlier this year. So things are in motion. So yes, you might see me from a few different locations here in the near future. So we're going to figure it all out so you guys get your Thursday morning lives, whether it's me or Susan or Sue, we'll get it all figured out. So good morning. So what is going on in Tailored Expressions land this week? We are having a sale for Memorial Day week. We are having a sentiment sale. So all of our sentiment stamp sets and the coordinating dies are 20% off. This is a great time to go in and pick up some of your favorites. And I think we released some of the ones that were previously add-ons to our combo kit club. And if you remember, if you're in the combo club, the main sets of those are not going to be released, but the extra add-ons that we add to that can be released in the future. In fact, we're going to craft with one of those today. It's not a sentiment set. I'll show you the sentiment set that I picked. They had the design team. We all picked a sentiment set to feature. So I'm going to feature my sentiment set that I picked, but also we're going to bring back one of the add-on products from our combo club this past year, and we're going to craft with that. And it's available in the Tailored Expressions web store for you to purchase now. So we're not doing a big hubbub. This is a special, like if you were at the live, you know this set is being released. You get first dibs at grabbing it if you haven't gotten it already when you were a part of the combo club last year. So this is going to be part of the regular collection. So if it does sell out, we're going to reorder it. This isn't a limited edition thing. I know that sometimes gets brought up. So check out the blog. The other video that you can watch this week is the live from Taylor that she did on Tuesday. She made this adorable set of rainbow cards. So make sure you go and check that out if you have not already. They're so cute. So that is what's going on this week. And I see people talking about they placed their order for sentiments, and some of you are waiting for them to ship. They'll ship soon. Our shipping team is top notch. They get things out the door so fast, even when it's busy. We tell you there's a delay. I'm always so surprised, and I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because they knock it out of the park every time. They get your orders out as quickly as we can. So they are known for that. They are awesome. All of you in the warehouse, thank you so much for getting us our crafty goodies so we can start creating with them. So yes, so the other thing we can talk about this week is, or not this week, but should we talk about next week? I just have a few things to talk about here before we start crafting. Next week is the last week of May, which means it's time for our monthly kit. And so the new kit comes out next Tuesday. I designed this one and I think you're gonna like it. If you bought my butterfly set and my dragonfly set and my ladybug set, then you're probably gonna want this one too. Well, what could it be? What other bugs could you have done, Heather? Well, it's not really a bug this time, but it's a cute little critter, but kind of along the same lines. Now my cards are down in the TE office, but I have little pieces of my kit here to show you, and I think you'll get a gist of what you're gonna have to work with here. And you take a closer look there. Cutest little snails in the world, you guys. They're so cute. Who knew rainbow snails were a thing? And of course we have the cute little snails with the little swirlies on their shells. We have, well, and if you have snails, you gotta have little tiny flowers, and you need little cute little mushrooms. And so you're gonna be able to create the cutest little snail things. And I have little snail flowers and little snail mushrooms, but I also have big flowers so you can make a little scene to put your little snails in. And of course, that means I have a bigger mushroom too. So there are so many fun things. I think we all had so much fun creating cards with these cute little snails and making little scenes for little snails to go in. And this kit is just, I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Of course, if you're a part of the Fans of Tailored Expressions Facebook page, there's usually a sneak peek video on that Saturday, which not on that Saturday, in 2 days on Saturday. So then you'll get a good peek at what's all included in that kit. Otherwise, Taylor will be live on Tuesday at 10. The products go live at 9. It's a limited edition. When they sell out, they sell out. So I think this was a good one. If you want a little bit, I mean, this is just like sunshine. These little snails are so much fun, and they're just the cutest. And I mean, it was fun to do. And I got lots of comments from other team members on the design team of how much fun they had creating with these snails. So I think you guys are gonna have so much fun. So that is next week coming your way. And like I said, more sneak peeks are coming over the weekend, so stay tuned for those. So, oh, Isis is asking, I'm curious, how long does it take a concept design of yours for production? 4 months? It can actually go faster than that. We'd like to work ahead, but yeah, it's usually pretty fast. So, but we talk about stuff, I mean, we talked about stuff a long time ago, and then, you know, we're working on stuff all in between. So it kind of varies a little bit, but it can be quicker than 4 months. So it's pretty amazing how fast things get turned around these days in the world of technology and the digital age. It also helps that we manufacture a lot of our things right down at the studios in the office down in Ankeny. If you didn't know that, we do our own rubber stamps down there, and we also manufacture other things as well. We do printing and some other things like that. So we can get it turned out to you pretty darn quick. So yeah, it's amazing how fast it goes. So snails are coming next Tuesday. Like I said, stay tuned on the Fans of Tailored Expressions Facebook page this weekend for even more sneak peeks. So like I said, today we're gonna craft with a product that was a part of, it was an add-on to the Combo Club last year, and now we are releasing it so you guys can purchase it. And I'm going to show you the sentiment set that I chose to feature this week for our sentiment sale. So it looks like a lot of you are super excited about the snails and the mushrooms, so thank you so much. So I'm going to flip you down to my desk and we're going to get crafting. So here is a look at what we're going to create today. So this is the Breezy Boughs Stamp and Stencil combo set. These are the cards that I created with it. We're going to create this card today on the live. You can see we got some stamping with sugar cube ink. We're going to do some stenciling, and then I also created another card creating kind of a border of greenery along the bottom. And you know, I had to use Toffee. I also use Latte. They work beautiful together. It's kind of interesting how Toffee looks so light on the Latte. It's really beautiful. So that is, we're going to create this card today. You're going to have all the tools to create this card once we get this one done. Let's take a look at that Breezy Boughs set so you know what that looks like. Maybe you were in the Combo Club last year and you might have purchased this already. So there's two lovely little branches. This one kind of looks like more eucalyptus-y, but I mean, it could be any kind of leaf. And then of course a nice kind of your traditional leafy branch in the red rubber stamp, and then the stencils to color in those images. So of course you could stamp these and you could color them with all sorts of different coloring mediums. You could do watercolor, colored pencil, Olo markers, alcohol markers, whatever coloring medium you like. Or, like I said, you can use the stencils to color that in. That goes nice and quick. And there's 2 stencils, so you can do 2 tones of color in here. So I've got, we'll get into that here in just a little bit. And then, of course, there are the coordinating dies so that you can cut your images out, and just gives you all sorts of possibilities of that. Now, the sentiment set that I chose to use and feature this week for our sentiment sale is the More Signature Sentiment Set. This is a style I love. We have several sets in this style that feature kind of a typewriter font, which is just totally something I love. I've always been a sucker for typewriter fonts and things like that. You might say, well, yeah, your whole typewriter set for the kit last month. Yes. So there's a cute little, a very pretty little script that goes with that. So it's a fun kind of, I don't know, it gives a rustic kind of handwritten, hand typed, I just love the style of that together. So obviously you can see what some of my favorite sentiments are because I have used them often. And of course there are the coordinating dies as well. So we'll be using one of those sentiments on our card today. And like I said, this has a lot of variety of sentiments. It covers a whole bunch of different occasions that you might need a card for. So a great set to use. This is a clear one, so we're going to stamp in our MISTI and we're going to use the foam insert to do that one. Okay, so let's get started. Kelly, you're working from home today, so you're actually catching me live. That is awesome. Of course, the beauty of technology is you can watch me later, but you can actually talk to me right now. Okay, so we're gonna do some stamping in our MISTI. So I've got my MISTI here, and I've got an A2 piece of cardstock that I'm going to stamp on. So I'm just gonna set my stamps kind of within that A2 guide on the MISTI grid sheet so that I know that they're gonna fit on that paper. And I'll just close the lid to pick that up. And we're gonna stick a little bit of adhesive down just to hold our cardstock in place. I could do a magnet too, but I think that's just habit. So, of course, we're gonna do Toffee cardstock to stamp on. And you'll notice that I stamped in sugar cube. So that is a little bit of a trick to get that look. So I'm gonna show you how I did that, and it just gives a totally different look than if you stamped in like black or embossed it in white or something like that. It's just a very delicate, pretty look. So we're gonna start off with sugar cube ink. And we're gonna stamp this onto our piece of Toffee cardstock. Barley, which set was this related to? I'm gonna rely on the crowd here to give that information. I did not pull that one out. I have it. It was like there were some florals, some real similar in style florals in that combo kit. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm stamping this in sugar cube ink just so I can see where the images are to line up my stencil. So I am gonna stamp it twice so it's just a little bit darker. And now the stencils, you're not gonna stencil both at the same time. One stencil is gonna do the leafy one and one is gonna do more the little eucalyptus one. So let's go ahead and start with this one. And when you're stenciling, your first one is going to be right here and this is going to be your second one. And we're gonna do the lighter color first on this one here. So I'm gonna use some pixie spray to hold my stencil on there. I'm leaving my cardstock in my MISTI. I don't know if you noticed that I didn't take it out. I'm not gonna take it out. I'm leaving it adhered right in my MISTI. And you'll see why here when we get to the end. Kathy's asking if we have gift certificates. We sure do have gift certificates. There should be a place on the website for you to click to purchase those. There we go, Sherry. The Time to Bloom Combo Club was when this was released. Okay, so I'm gonna line up my stencil over my stamped image. And it's fairly easy to do. You're really just looking for those outlines and you're popping that stencil into place right on here. There's a little bit of concentration happening if you can't tell. And I am gonna just pop a magnet on there just to hold everything in place for sure. Now I'm gonna start off with green tea ink. I'm using my bitty blender brushes. And one of the things that I am going to do with this green tea ink is I'm gonna have a very light hand, because if it gets too dark, then you're not gonna see the definition between the green tea and the Brussels sprout, which is what we're gonna use for the second color. Okay, so I'm gonna ink it up. One of the tips for a lighter touch, and believe me, a lighter touch for me is a challenge sometimes, is to hold your brush a little bit farther down than up here. This makes me want to blend more darker, press harder. If you're out this way, it's a little bit lighter. I'm also tapping off a little bit of ink onto my stencil so that I'm not going directly onto it, and I'm keeping a light hand for this green tea ink. I'm moving, of course, in a clockwise and counterclockwise direction. Teresa's saying, now I want to splatter my teal magnets. It's unavoidable at my desk, that is for sure. It'll be interesting. This will be the last thing we bring down, and I'm sure some people are going to be like, what is happening here? Okay, so there's our first color, the green tea, and I'm going to slide that stencil over so you can see where those colors hit, and we're going to line this one up. And yes, even though the stencil isn't laying completely flat, it works just fine in my MISTI. Obviously, from how I stamped it, the stencil has to be a little bit cockeyed. That's okay. We're going to switch to Brussels sprout ink for that darker color. Yes, he says, always comes in hot with blending, and I have to work not to. I have to like talk to myself about, now remember, you're not doing this heavy, you're doing this light. It's a lot of self-talk that happens with that. I'm gonna just adjust this a little bit. I see just a little bit on the bottom that's maybe just slightly off. Slightly off. There, that feels better. All right, so Brussels sprout is going to be our darker green color here. And this one I'm not being so picky about how much this can be darker. I don't want it to be too saturated that it starts bleeding, because if you are pressing and introducing too much ink to your cardstock, you can definitely have bleeding. So there is our Brussels sprout. I love the stencils like this. So even if you, first of all, it's a quick and easy way to color. Second of all, if you find that you are coloring challenged, these do all the work for you. So I'm just gonna lift my MISTI up so you can see those pretty leaves and the two tones of color. I did a good job at keeping that light touch with that green tea ink. And then you'll see the white ink is kind of disappearing behind all of that blending because it went right over the top. So we'll fix that here when we get the blending of this second branch done. I'm trying really hard to spray my pixie spray over my garbage can because there was a big sticky pixie spray spot on my floor. We got it up with Goo Gone, but it was kind of entertaining. My mom was helping me and she was vacuuming, and I said, did you see where the glue was on the floor? And she said, where the stuff won't vacuum up? Yes, I did see that. So she knew exactly where to go to get that Goo Gone down to get the pixie spray up. Goo Gone really took it off the floor really well. In case you're wondering how to get that off your floor. All right, we're gonna use Spearmint ink for our first color on the more rounded leaves, some more eucalyptus leaves. Becky is saying, do you need to let the sugar cube ink dry before stenciling? I really didn't. This is such a fine line, and I mean, the ink takes a little bit longer to dry than like a dye-based ink, but it doesn't, it's okay. You can just go. Now, if your ink pad is really goopy and really wet, maybe yes, you would want to take a little bit more time to dry. I tend to keep my white pad on the drier side because I don't want that really goopy mess with my sugar cube and white ink. So again, this is Spearmint ink. Yeah, they're talking about if you're pressing your stencil down on a ink, like white ink, that's the pigment ink that's wet. And I go back to, I keep my white pad pretty on the, really more on the dry side, and then kind of just add drops of ink as I feel I need it. But yes, if the ink is really goopy and wet, it's definitely going to, you're going to have some smearing. It's really, you know, I'm moving this over so the white ink that's here is not here, and I'll wash these stencils when I'm done. It really will be okay. Okay, so I'm lining up this last stencil, and the second color we're gonna do on this branch is Poblano Pepper. This is a really nice pairing. They seem like this is a pretty light color and pretty dark color comparatively, but they go together and work together really, really well. Yes, Denise, Goo Gone is amazing. We've used it in several situations cleaning the house for this to get it on the market. Okay, my Poblano pepper is always pretty intense, so I start off to the side so I don't get too much in that opening, and then we're gonna go for it there. And I'm just picking up that ink to use. Get a little bit more down here. Fill that one in. Okay. So there is that second branch right there with the two tones of color. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stamp again over the top. So that's gonna add that sugar cube color right over the top. And you can give your ink just a few minutes to dry if you're worried about that. It really, like I said, it doesn't take too long. Go back, we're gonna ink this up, and I'm just gonna stamp it several times to get a nice crisp image that I'm happy with. And you'll see the first one, I mean, you're already seeing it kind of come back to life there, popping that color bright on the top there. I do this also, like if I'm going to do a stenciled image and I want to emboss the lines. So stamp in kind of a neutral color so you can see where the stencil goes. Just leave everything in place in your MISTI, do your stenciling, then stamp in Versamark and emboss over the top. You'll obviously want to use your powder tool to make sure all your ink is dry. But that's another reason you might stamp this way, where we're leaving it in the MISTI to re-stamp the image over the top. I'm gonna do one more. I can see it's nice and bright. Let's do one more for good measure. Somebody's going to a craft retreat. I'm jealous. Those are so much fun. Meeting up with crafty friends. Okay, so there is our two images stenciled, and then I stamped over the top with that sugar cube ink again. I love it. Such a pretty and soft look. Okay, so I'm gonna clean my stamps real quick here. This is the pigment ink, so I'm just gonna use water on these. I have my scrubber tool, but it's over there. So I just grabbed my microfiber cloth here. But yeah, pigment ink doesn't need a whole lot to get your stamp clean. Gonna dab this dry. And let's do some stamping to create our background, because I don't know if you noticed, I used the stamps to create the background on the card. Now, of course, we have so many beautiful background stamps. This card, I used the linen background stamp just to give it that kind of rustic, kind of fabric woven kind of fabric look. But this one, I actually used those leaf images to create my background. I mean, and this is like something when you're stamping, you know, what do I have that coordinates with it? Well, you can use that same image, and I'm stamping it on Latte paper with Latte ink to give it that tone-on-tone look. So it kind of falls to the background. It kind of enhances it, but it doesn't like overpower it, if that makes sense, that kind of tone-on-tone effect. Okay, let's pull these stamps off and I'll show you. We'll stamp that background. Get the water out of there. So I need a piece of Latte cardstock here. Got it. Right here. And again, I'm gonna stick it in the middle, but we're gonna move it around a little bit. So I'm just gonna start, and you could stamp both images, but I like to start just one at a time so then I can kind of see where things fall once I get them stamped, so that I can adjust. I feel like if I put two on at the same time, then sometimes the gap is too big between there. So we'll go ahead and pick that up. Now, if you were doing multiple backgrounds, then I would say, and you wanted that look, if you wanted to speed it up, I would flip out your papers between each impression so that you can get a similar looking background, if that makes sense to you. Because this is a little bit more putsy to do a background this way, but there are ways to kind of make it go quicker if you were doing multiple cards. There's that. Let's do just 2 impressions with that. I'm also going to alternate the branches a little bit. I'm going to have this one kind of come down from up here. I'm going to tuck it as close as I can to there, but that. There, and I want some things to go in a little bit different direction as well. So I'm going to have one kind of come in from here. Again, I'm going to tuck up pretty close to that. And I'm also going to turn my cardstock here eventually as well. Joy, the one retreat I go to is actually in Kansas and I'm in Minnesota, so I actually drive to them. They are worth going to if there's one that it looks interesting to you. They're so much fun to go to. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to come in. This is where we're going to start kind of flipping things around. Grab my magnet here to hold this in place. See, I think I am going to flip this way. The curve goes, just kind of matches that really, really nicely. Stamp that twice to get a nice impression. I would say too with the Latte, it definitely stamps darker and it will lighten up quite a bit. I mean, there's a difference there. So it looks a little dark right now, but it will lighten up quite a bit. Okay, let's take this one here. We're also going to trim this down just a little bit when we get to our die cutting part here. All right, now we got to fill in some of these little nooks and crannies on here. So let's see, for this little corner here, I'm gonna stick that like right in there. Oh yeah, Isis, I've done that. We have some places in Minnesota, they're just houses you can rent, and they kind of make it so that they've got a nice work area. It's like a regular house, but then they, you know, set up the bedrooms so you can have multiple people sleeping in them. And they set up a work area, and you have the kitchen so you can make your food there. I've been to a couple different ones that are in Minnesota, and they're really nice. And you just bring all your friends, you rent the house for the weekend. I mean, you could do it with an Airbnb too, but these ones are kind of specialized for crafting. All right, one more little thing. I'm actually going to slide my cardstock up a little bit so I can kind of tweak in here with this. I'm going to turn it just a little bit and tuck it in. Get that last little area. I'm not going to worry about this too much because like I said, we're going to trim this down just a little bit. So then that isn't going to be so important in that area. Okay, so we've got a background here where I've stamped the images randomly around the background to fill in that space, kind of a really botanical look. Very pretty. And let's grab our stenciled images today because you guessed it, we gotta splatter these. Splatter them up. Oop. So I'm gonna grab my water brush. I've got my, this is my little tiny glass mat, mini glass mat. I'm not gonna put more medium on there, but that's that chocolate truffle liquid watercolor to give us a kind of a dark brown speckle. Lots of people sharing retreats where they are, yes. I think there are a lot of options. All right, so I picked up that color. I'm tapping my finger on the brush to add my splatters. Of course, you don't have to splatter if you don't want to, but I like to splatter everything. So there are some chocolate truffle splatters, and of course I want to do some white splatters. Just cleaning out the brown color out of my brush here. And our white splatters are Dr. Peach Martin's Bleed Proof White Ink. I'm going to pick up that color. I like to use my lid. You could do this on an acrylic block as well, but the lid just works for me. And again, I'm tapping to add those splatters across my images. Maybe like just a tiny bit of white splatter right there. It's not very precise, but I at least got some white in that area. And then again, that white acrylic ink will mess up your brush if you don't clean it out all the way. So make sure you flush your brush out, rinse it under a sink, something so you can get that ink out of that brush. We'll just gum up your brush quite a bit. This one is ready to be refilled, so we will take care of that when I'm done. Oh yeah, come to Stamp Joy. That's like the ultimate retreat, right? I would say though, Stamp Joy is more of an event. You're still gonna meet people, you're still gonna craft together. The crafting houses, I think, are a little bit more intimate opportunity, and I would say if you ever get a chance, definitely do it. And you can stamp all night long if you want to. I am not, I will stamp late, but I'm not your super night owl. I know they have people stamping at like 2, 3 in the morning at some of the retreats I went to, and I am not normally with that crowd. I am in bed. And Beth, definitely, if it's in driving distance, we would love to see you there. Okay, I'm grabbing my die cut machine so we can do some die cutting. I guess the only thing I didn't stamp is my sentiment, but we can do that at the end. Okay, so we're going to cut these out with the coordinating dies, which I set down somewhere. There they are. I'm just going to cut these apart. Sometimes I find it just easier to cut them apart. All right, let's line this stencil up around the image. And then once I have it where I want it, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to tape it in place with some Scotch removable tape. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one all lined up as well. Let's see here. That's looking pretty good right about there. All right, let's send these two through. And I, of course, probably set my cutting plate down somewhere. Oh, it's right there. Send these through. branch number 1. So pretty. These are just pretty. So pretty. And then let's get branch number 2. There you go. And you obviously could just do a bunch of this type of branch for your card, or you can combine them together, however you want to do. They look really pretty together, which is what we're gonna do on our card. Okay, let's cut this one out. We're gonna use the A2 Layer Stacklets dies. And I'm pretty sure I used the second one down from the top because I've got that 1/8 inch border, but we're just gonna double check to be sure. Yes, that is definitely what we used. So I am going to arrange that on there. And we're just gonna tape that in place so it doesn't slide around on me. And send these through. There we've got this cut down to the size we need. The other thing that we're going to cut out is this white frame, and that's cut out with the Frame and Frame 3 die collection. So let me grab that. I'm going to cut out 2 white frames. We're going to bulk it up just a little bit for a touch of extra dimension on there. Got some sugar cube cardstock here. Here's that Frame and Frame 3 set. I use this set so much. This is definitely one of my must-have grab and go. I use the frames constantly. Speaking of Stamp Joy, I think registration is coming up in not too distant future. I'm not going to give you a day yet, but it's coming. I gotta find me a little paper piercer tool here. There it is. So I can pop that frame out of there. So there's 1, and I'm going to cut out 2. I just dropped stuff on the floor. Okay. I'm going to cut out 1 more. We're going to pop that apart. Like I said, we have to do our sentiment yet, so we'll come back to the die cut machine in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's grab our branches. I'm going to stick these together. I'm going to just use my tape runner to add adhesive onto here. I like to do it, this is going to be the layer underneath, so I find it's easier to just put the adhesive right on the front of that versus the back of the other one. I can't tell you why, that's just how it seems to work for me. When I'm using my tape runner, I will run my fingers along just to make sure I get all the little overlap, anything that's overlapping the edges out. And then we're just going to layer these 2 together. And you can use liquid glue to layer pieces together. That's totally fine too. So we're going to stick these 2 together. I've got a green tea A2 size layer. So that is going to be behind here. So where is my tape runner? We are going to stick this background down on the green tea. So then we're going to add that frame. I'm just going to make sure I don't have extra adhesive sticking out. And we're going to center that on there. This is one where I like to grab my ruler. We have the side that's got the zeroing in the middle. So you can line that up. And then you can center your frame. I usually typically do it on the bottom. Just kind of make sure you've got it centered. I feel like this is not quite right. Nope. There we go. I can hear you all yelling, that's not right. This is still not right because this is not centered. Okay. There we go. All right. And now my two branches, I'm going to tuck them together like so. I might stick just a little bit of adhesive right here for now, because I'm going to add a little bit of twine to the bottom stem. So like so, because it's going to lay across the card, although that looks really tall, so I need to kind of move that. Make sure my leaves are behaving here. There we go. So do that, and I'm going to take a little bit of twine. If you look at my card here, I've got just a tiny bit of twine just tying those stems together. I thought that added just a pretty little effect at the bottom of the card. Cut a length of twine, and we're just going to twirl some around there on the bottom. I'm going to leave a tail, wind it like 2-3 times, and then just tie like a double knot. Trim those down. I might trim a little bit more, but I'm going to get it on the card here first. And then I'm going to grab one of my rectangle things here. So let's add a little bit of adhesive to these middle parts so it just bumps up just a little bit. I'm just going to cut some pieces to pop in there. There. About there. Yes, Joy, you just looked up the Stamp Joy event. It is amazing. It's so much fun. We would love to have you there. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of adhesive right to the tops here that are going to overlap the top on that frame. And then let's stick this in place. And then we'll get our sentiment ready. Jesus, you say you're always crooked if you freestyle it. I will eyeball a lot, but sometimes I'm just like, I definitely need the extra help today. There we go. Got that all stuck down. My little burlap ends are going a little kittywampus here, so I'm going to try to like pinch them. I probably tied my knot not quite right to get the ends to lay the way I want. There we go. All right. So let's get a sentiment going here. We're going to grab that More Signature Sentiment set. Set this aside. I'll grab just my Mini Missy here for this. And I got a piece of sugar cube cardstock ready for me. Whenever I'm doing sentiments, and this is just, I don't know, kind of a simple thing or whatever, I don't just stamp one. I like to just pick a few and stamp a few. So let's do like the hello, because then I have a better chance. You know, sometimes when you stamp, you don't always get things that cut out right or look right or whatever. So if I have multiples, then I feel like I have a better chance of having it. And the other thing, which I could just do, is I just save the extras in my sentiment pouch so that I've got sentiments ready to go. So let's pick those 3. And we're gonna ink these up with the Nocturne VersaFine Clair. Gotta put my frame die. So this is that nice black ink. It does take a little bit longer to dry, but it just is a crisp black ink for stamping sentiments. And I'm just going to, I don't do a lot of pressure when I'm doing these so that I can get a good impression. So I've got 3 sentiments. It usually only takes 1 impression with this ink. Sometimes you do more than 1. I mean, you obviously know that that can happen, but this one's pretty good at getting it on the first shot. So let's go ahead and grab that die cut machine again, and we're gonna cut these out. To find where I set my set. I just had them in my hand. You guys, this room is so clean. There they are. Where could they go? Okay, so we've got Just Because, which is, I think, no, that's not the right one. Okay, here's Hello. Here's the Just Because, and Miss You. Is it this one? No, that's not right. Here it is. Oh, and I've got it attached here yet. I must not have cut this one out before, so I've just got my little tool to snip that apart. Okay, let's line these up. I've got my Scotch removable tape here. Hello. Slide this down so I can actually see what I'm looking at on here. And then Just Because here. All right, send those through. Well, if you can't make it to Stamp Joy, we do offer a virtual option. It's not the whole event, but it's one of the classes that we offer. So watch for that, because then if you can't make it, you can try to do, you could do the virtual option. And then we do virtual Stamp Joy in the spring, which is a little bit bigger event. Where did my little craft pick go? I'm losing everything on this desk. That seriously, guys, it's so clean compared to what it normally is. We got Just Because. Miss You, and Hello. I think I'm going to use the Miss You. That one feels good. There's the little Hello. They're all really nice. So I think I'm going to use the Miss You for this card, and I'm going to cut out a few additional die cuts so that I can stack them up just for a little bit more definition. Okay, where did I put my little Miss You die? I'm just going to cut up this 2 more times so I can glue them together. Sarah says she doesn't know about you ladies, but this is dangerous for your wallet. I think it is. Well, it is dangerous for a wallet, but it's wonderful for you curating your collection of sentiments so that you have what you need whenever you need it. It's too clean. It's so, you guys, it's so clean, which it needs to be, right? But it's, yes. And the decisions of what to pack up and what to leave out, and yes, We have a storage unit packed full of all of the things. Okay, let's stack this sentiment up. Again, I'm just using my tape runner. You can use liquid glue if you would like to do that. So these are the 2 blank ones that I just cut out. And let's get the stamped one right on top of there. There we go. This is our little misuse. Let's bring our card back in here. So let's attach that. I have it kind of overlapping the leaves a little bit here, like right about there. That looks good. I think this week for me was definitely greenery cards. And sometimes I just get into that mode, and I think they're great because they're kind of calming and peaceful. So cards like thinking of you, missing you, sympathy cards, things like that. These are beautiful images to use for those themed cards. These are also great. They go either both, you can send them like more of a masculine theme or more of a feminine theme. It doesn't matter. Greenery, everybody likes greenery. So I'm going to add this to the card base before I do my final touch on here. So I've got a Toffee top fold card base that I'm just adding that panel right on top of. I'll do this quite often where I'll work on an A2 base and then I'll just add that right to the card front. So there we go. There is our card, and now we're going to add some glossy rhinestones using the Bits and Pieces white glossy rhinestones. And I'm going to take a look at my original card to place my rhinestones here. Let's sprinkle a few out as well. This is, I always say, doing the little embellishments like this is something that can take the longest time, fussing over where these little rhinestones are gonna sit on your project. So once I have it figured out, I'm just gonna copy my other project. This is just kind of sprinkling around the plants. Whenever I use Toffee cardstock, I try to find ways to add brightness to the card, adding the touches of white cardstock, using the white ink, doing white splatters, adding white rhinestones, all of those things, because the Toffee can definitely mute down colors and things like that. But adding these touches of white and brightness to the card just kind of really make it pop just a little bit more. So there are our pieces for our rhinestones. So let me grab my liquid glue and my Belly Jelly pick and place tool. I like to use multi-medium matte for my liquid adhesive. There are lots of liquid adhesives out there. Everybody has their own preferences. This one is mine. And I'm using that Belly Jelly pick and place tool to pick up those rhinestones, add that little dot of glue, and then secure the rhinestone in place. I think I've got one more here. I'll do my little test, tip my card to make sure. Looks like I got all of them. All right, let's take a closer look at this card that we just created with that Breezy Boughs stamp and stencil combo set. We cut it out with those coordinating dies and then a sentiment from the More Signature Sentiment stamp set. So pretty. All right, let me pop you up to the top. Flip my hair around. Okay, there we go. There's that closer look at what we created today. And a look at the other cards that I showed you today with that Breezy Boughs set. So now I have a nice little set of cards to add to my crafty stash for sending to people that need just a little bit of extra joy in their mailbox. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful, if you're in the United States and you celebrate Memorial Weekend, have a wonderful weekend. Like I said, we are we are selling our house this weekend. Let's fingers crossed, right, you guys? So thank you so much. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget, on Tuesday is the new kit release at the end of the month, so make sure you stick around for that. Thank you guys so much, everybody, and have a great day and weekend.